Hi, today I'll be making a Guipure or gossamer lace shawl. You can make this a wrap, a stole, a scarf, a cowl. You just change the width and the length to your requirements. So I'll be using technique 156 on the E6000. This can be done on a DM80. The repeat are these needles here. So this is just to fill in this sample box. So on the DM80, just don't use that middle pusher that's on the front. Just have it just like on the back. Okay, but what we'll need to do first is cast on. Now you'll see this. There's 3 on one bed, 3 on the other, 3 on one bed. So all the double bed casts on have alternating needles. This doesn't look like it has alternating needles, but it actually has racking, so it is alternating needles. So in order to make this pattern alternating needles, what you could do is take this middle one and cast it on the back bed and then move it over onto the front bed. However, that's moving a lot of stitches, so you'd have to do it on this side as well. So you'd be moving 1/3 of the stitches. You can do that if you like, but I decided that I don't really feel like doing that. I would prefer instead to have an open end cast on that I would manually cast off later. And that's going to be easier to set up, and it's actually going to be able to be symmetrical with the cast off I have on the other side. And additionally, if you wished to make a continuous work, a cowl or a Mobius cowl, you can graft the ends together. So we're going to start with a cheating cast on, which is just going to be basically for tubular work. We're going to cast on as if we're doing tubular, any of the tubulars. We're going to cast on as if we're doing tubular, but continue on in double bed. So I'll show you how to go ahead and do that. So we're going to use the console. We're going to program it. Erase what you have in there. Cast on number actually doesn't matter. We're actually not going to use this cast on. I'm just going to put in 1 just because. Is that all stitch patterns? No. Stitch pattern A is 156. Test? No. All? Yes. Form? No. Left needle? Okay, so you can't tell exactly where the pattern is going to lie with the E6000. So what you can do is enter a range that is a little bit more or approximately the width that you want to have, and then you can use correct and change the range to the actual ends of where the pattern is. So I want it about maybe 65 or 70 wide to one side and 70 to the other side, maybe about 130, 140 wide. So I'm just going to enter 65 left and 65 right. Start, cast on, enter. Start position. You put it by needle 89. Enter. Cast on, we're just going to hit ABC. Stitch pattern A. SX on the front. GX on the back. Empty row. But before we do that, we have to bring some needles into work, and we're going to bring in our range that we specified. The pushers and the needles. So I'm going from right 65 to left 65. Okay, and it says to do an empty row. Okay, now it has shown us where our pattern is. So what I'm going to do is drop down all the needles that were not pushed up. The ones pushed up are the ones that are going to be in use. And then I'm going to look at my pattern and say, okay, on the right, I have a full pattern on the front, and on the left, I have a partial pattern. It's just 2 of the needles on the left. So what I'm going to do is make it so there's only 1 needle on the left, the first needle of that pattern, because that's going to be my edge stitch. And then I am going to bring up the needles in the back for the pattern. And so I'm actually going to push all the other needles down on the front so it's easy to see where I am from the back. It's also telling me racking handle down, so I'm just going to put my racking handle down when I set this up. So this is going to be a pattern. I'm going to use my needle selector. It's going to be 4 down, then 1 on, 1 on, 1 on, then 4 down. So that's 1, 2, 3, and this is a set of 4. So that should be matching that. So I'm going to go ahead and push those down all across the bed. Okay, and I'm going to move my edge springs. Okay, since I have this needle selector to push needles down, I'm going to bring into work all the needles in the range in the back bed and push down the ones that I'm not going to use. So on the right, I'm going to have the needle, the rogue 1 needle on the back bed. And I'm going to bring up all the other ones to the right, all the way up to on the left, right before that last 1 needle on the front. So then my last needle will actually be on, I'll be observing the needle rule on both beds. So I can just start putting the pattern in one time, or put my section of 4. So I know that's my 4 down. So then I can just start from there and just put them all and just set them all up off of that. Okay, so my last full pattern on the right should be on the front. My last full pattern on the left should be on the back. And this is actually rotational symmetry. So if you were doing a Mobius, you could connect these together and not have a problem with the patterns not matching up because you had it, you had it as a mirror symmetry instead of rotational symmetry. Okay, so notice I haven't put the pushers up in the back yet. It's intentional. I will in a little bit. So I'm going to continue with the machine. Racking handle down. I press enter, check the needles. Okay, empty row. Okay, check the needles on the back. Check the pushers on the back, which we're not going to do yet. And this is color 1, stitch size, black strippers, KX, N. Okay, we cycled through that. We're not doing that part because we are going to do the cast on first. Okay, so what we are going to do is I'm going to put these pushers back into work. And we are going to look at our tubular casts on. So you see on one bed, it is alternating up, down, up, down, up, down for the pushers. So that is what we're going to do on both these beds. So down, don't put it all the way down, just put it in the down position, not out of work. And then these 2 go down, middle goes down, these 2 go down, middle goes down, these 2, this one, these 2, this one, these 2, all the way to the end. Okay, and we are going to replicate that on the back bed. Except we only have to bring the pushers up now. So I'm actually now going to change my little tool to help me get the pushers out quickly. Okay, so that's the opposite of the pattern I just had. Okay, so I'm just going to pull all of them into work, and then I am going to move them into an up-down position. Okay, now that we have our pushers out of the rail, we are going to put them into work in an alternating pattern. So this first one's up, down, up, down, up, down, up, middle up, outsides up, middle up, outsides up, and do this all the way to the end. Okay. We are going to use waste yarn. The lock on the front is going to be LX or HX, BX on the DM80, your choice. And on the back bed is going to be HX or GX right now. And I have my waste yarn in. I'm going to use stitch size 6. I'm going to put in my black strippers. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and do one row. Okay, and every alternate needle on the front was knit. Now we change the front to GX and the back HX or BX. And then go ahead and knit one row. And every alternate needle should have been knit. Okay, now my computer still thinks I'm doing actually the stitch pattern. I'm just gonna, it popped up to change the setting on the back. I'm just gonna hit enter, pretend I did. Now I am going to change the front to CX and the back to CX. One row. Two rows. And now I'm going to use an N and do one more row. Okay, now we have something that the cast-on comb can grab a hold of. So I'm going to take out my strippers and put in the cast-on comb. I'm also putting on the edge springs. I didn't put them on before. This is only the waste yarn section. Doesn't really matter. I'm using my cast-on comb. And push it up. Okay, it's okay if it splits the yarn. This is only waste yarn. Oop, my wire got caught right there. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, let's feed our wire through. Okay, let's continue on with the lock. No strippers again. Be very careful, don't use strippers because you don't want the little wires to hit your strippers and ruin them. Okay, so we're going to do a few more rows with NN. Okay, I am going to end on the left with my waste yarn. Okay, so I am going to cut my waste yarn, leave the tail over there, resecure the rest of my waste yarn.